Hi, good morning. Now, yesterday was my father's birthday. My dad set a blistering pace and showed me the best example of how to be a man. One of the biggest things I learned from him is how to overcome my fears. In his honor, I'd like to share a story I wrote about him. I hope that it helps you overcome your fears. My father wrote his common entrance exam in Apam. It was June 1963, and my dad, well, he had a mission. His own illiterate father had told him to which means learn until the end of learning. And so there was no way he was going to let the common entrance be the hurdle at which he fell, not when he was planning to run the full marathon of academic excellence. So he studied and studied every day until the sun went down. Then he would light a candle and study some more. He practiced solving equations over and over until he could do them in his sleep. From then on, his only concern was how to solve them faster. His entire time and energy was dedicated to passing these exams. Nothing else mattered. You see, the common entrance was the exam that determined whether a young student would go on or go home. It was the differentiator, the decider between those who would grow up to become providers for the entire family and those who would become lifelong dependents, traveling once every quarter to the city to visit their well-to-do cousins who did pass the common entrance. My father had no intention of scrounging on his smarter cousins for the rest of his life. No, he wanted to be the smarter cousin. Now, the day before the exam, they were all told where to meet at 5:30 in the morning to board a bus to the exam center. Now, my father lived a fair distance from the meeting point, so he resolved to wake up at the crack of dawn, get ready, and be there in good time. He was not going to miss that bus. So he went to bed early, but he couldn't sleep. A mixture of anxiety and excitement kept him awake far longer than he had intended, until at some indeterminate hour, while he was mentally converting some ratio into a fraction, he dozed off. A far-off noise woke him up with a start. He looked through the window and noticed to his horror how bright it was outside. It certainly looked like it was no longer dawn. With a yell of panic, my young father sprung out of his bed, threw on his uniform, grabbed his pre-packed lunch of kinke and fried fish, stuck a chewing stick in his mouth and legged it out of the house. Now, the route to the pickup point took my 13-year-old father through a notorious cemetery called Ntam Twamu, which means swear an oath and cross. Now, legend has it that it was the site of a particularly bloody battle during the tribal wars, and for many years after, one had to speak an oath before walking across those hallowed grounds. And of course, the oath only offered you a very brief, very temporary protection from the spirits that supposedly dwelled there, so you had to chant your oath quickly and hustle across the cemetery before its power wore off. Now, my father was in too much of a hurry to bother with oaths. He simply plowed his way through the cemetery, hoping against forlorn hope that the bus would wait for him. He got to the pickup point and it was deserted. No sign of the bus. My young father could not believe it. How could he have missed the most important bus in his life? His entire future had left on that bus without him. So he turned to walk away and noticed the house across the street where one of his mates lived. So he decided to find out from his mate's parents exactly how long ago the bus departed. Now, when he knocked, a panicked voice from within inquired in a harsh whisper, "Who's that out there?" "It's me, Kobana," he replied. "I just wanted to know what time the bus left." "What bus?" his friend's mother asked incredulously. "Kobana Doko, it's 3:30 in the morning. Go back home and sleep." My father's first reaction was confusion. 3:30? So why was it daylight? Then he looked up and realized it was a full moon and the bright lunar illumination had created that illusion of early daylight. His next reaction was intense relief. He had not missed the bus after all. His future was still very much intact. His third reaction was amusement. He chuckled to himself, thinking of how he had rushed out of the house and run all the way through the cemetery. The cemetery! His chewing stick fell from his fear-frozen lips. He had just gone through a cemetery at 3:30 in the morning, and he hadn't spoken any oaths either. How on earth was he supposed to walk back through that horrific place and go back to bed? Now, I wonder what you would have done in his shoes. But my dear friend, I tell you this story because I want to share what I learned from it. You see, when you have a goal, when you make that goal your absolute priority, when you pursue that goal with single-minded urgency, all the obstacles, all the impediments, all the difficulties at which you would normally pause, probably balk and most likely give up, all the cemeteries along your path fade into insignificance. All that matters is your goal, and no hurdle is too high to keep you from it. It's only when you pause, like Peter, and think to yourself, hey, am I actually walking on water? That's when you start to sink. Most of the obstacles to our success are in our own minds. Someone has told you that startups never succeed, so you have never started. Someone told you that nobody ever gets a job in that company unless they know someone on the board, so you never applied. Someone told you that everybody fails that exam, so you never registered. Somebody told you, oh, that guy is so snobbish, he only likes fair girls, so you never said hello. Somebody told you we will never beat Galamsey in Ghana, so you stop fighting it. My dear friends, the obstacles in our way are the ones we choose to see. If you think you can't, you're right. But if you think you can, you might. So just grit your teeth, focus on the prize, and just contempt him. You'll be surprised at what you can achieve when you stop focusing on your fears. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I can't afford to miss my bus, so I'm plowing through the cemeteries of my life. Good morning, Ghana folk.